kasih kerana bersama kami. Ini adalah agenda AWANI. Saya Ibrahim Sani. Hari ini kita akan merungkaikan tentang perniagaan TM Malaysia Berhad. Ini kerana hasil network dan konektiviti inisiatif negara seperti 5G dan juga Jendela sedang pergiatkan usaha untuk memastikan semua rakyat Malaysia dan juga stakeholder dalam negara dapat meneruskan usaha kita untuk kembali ke era normal baru. Dan bersama kita pada hari ini adalah Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Kumpulan TM dan juga Pengarah Urusan Telekom Malaysia Berhad, Imri Mokhtar. Dan Saudara Imri, kita nak first of all congratulate you for crossing that 1 year period. Kalau kita ingat balik, it's been a little bit over a year.
Yeah.
My first question to you is, how has the transition period been? TM it's like a second family to you. You've been coming in and out. Yeah. But of course, this is a very different challenge, I presume. Yeah. Once your return of the group since 1st August last year.
Yeah. First and foremost, thank you, Ibrahim, for having me here. And certainly, it is a very challenging, but also very exciting times for us at TM. There is a lot of plans that's been driven by the government, where TM is playing a very active role. Like what you mentioned today on Jendela, and also now with the rollout of 5G. So with Jendela, for example, we know the objective of Jendela, there's two main objectives. On the digital connectivity that you mentioned today. The first one, it's about the 4G mobile coverage, to expand that. And the second one is very much on expanding the coverage of fiber broadband. And that is where TM will play a very major and significant role.
Okay, we're going to get right into it, because the way I would like to divide this conversation is Jendela first, and then we can talk about 5G.
Okay, sure.
With the Jendela program, of course, you're not doing this alone. There's a lot of stakeholders involved, anywhere from all the other network operators to the regulator to DNB maybe. So how do you see TM supporting the Jendela initiative vis-a-vis all the other stakeholders that we know? It's already on the map right now on executing Jendela.
So with regards to Jendela, Jendela is a blueprint that was developed and committed collectively by the industry. So it includes TM and all the other operators. And as I mentioned, the focus for TM is very much on the fiber broadband. And I think what the public should appreciate is the targets that have been set. And that is to provide fiber broadband to 7.5 million premises by end of 2022. And of that, TM had committed 6 million premises, of that premises, and the balance of 1.5 million will be by the other telcos in the industry.
To recap, Jendela's Phase 1 program is currently on track to reach its national target of 7.5 million premises that you mentioned, with a mobile speed of at least 35 megabits per second. And of course, the second phase is going to kick off very soon. How are we looking at between the phases right now?
Yeah. So for the first phase, which is right up to 2022, we are tracking. Just to give a perspective, today as of third quarter 2021, we have fiberized the industry in total. 6.42 million premises is already ready with fiber broadband, and of which 86% of that is contributed by TM. So that's about 86%. 86%. That's about 5.5 million.
Basically, the lion's share. So
but as I said, Jendela is a collaborative effort. I think by the industry, driven by MCMC, of course, with KKMM, the ministry, to provide deliver those two objectives. One is the fiber broadband, and the other one is on the 4G mobile coverage, and TM's role is primarily on the fiber broadband.
Now, how about the capex allocation for Jendela? Is it taking a massive chunk on the overall capex management of you as a TM organization moving forward into 22, 23, and so on?
Yeah, it is part of the capex commitment or allocation of TM. Yeah, so it is not something that is new, that is on top of. It is part of it. I think one of the considerations is the front loading, I think, of that investment. Yeah?
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's been tagged, you're just moving it forward.
That's right. Yeah,
Okay.
and I think, for example, this year for TM, we are looking at between 14 to 18% of our revenues to be allocated for capex, and within that capex would be our investment for JENDELA.
So your second half earnings posted about 5 billion ringgit or slightly north of 5 billion ringgit. Full year maybe even hitting 11. I don't know. I'm second guessing here. within the targets of the expectations of market analysts.
Yes,
so
it is within the market guidance that we had provided. Yeah, which is
so 10 to 15 to 18%. We're looking at close to what 200 million ringgit allocated for this.
Well, you know, would not be able to disclose the details of that, but suffice to say, right, it is within the overall capex.
Okay.
Yeah? And,
sorry, pardon me.
No, and I think just to provide some appreciation, yeah, to the public as well, yeah, in terms of the rollout, the speed of the acceleration of the rollout this year is certainly much faster than what it was in previous years in 2020. Yeah? And because, as we know, you know, what our country has gone through during the pandemic, right? Everyone's doing things from home, yeah, working from home, studying from home, doing a business at home. I think the demand for a fast and a stable broadband at home, yeah, has really spiked up for the country, and TM we are committed to meet that demand.
People talk about transforming how you do work and study. It's so strange. Let me tell you something, and I don't know if I'm taking too much airtime here, but my dining table, we've gotten rid of it. We put in, my wife and I, the office table with the thing at the slot tengah so that the wire can come in. Dining chairs all out. We have the nice office chairs. My kids and I do that. Makan dekat situ, belajar dekat situ, kerja dekat situ. It's so strange. Yes. But I cannot imagine us moving back to normalcy anytime soon because, you know, we go into the National Recovery Plan, yes. Phase 3, Phase 4, and then there's always something that's going around the corner and then we have to revert back. That's the way forward. So, you know, data connectivity is extremely crucial, which brings to mind our second half of the topic, which is, of course, 5G. The Finance Minister, Tengku Zafrul, has announced that Malaysia aims to have 5G coverage in 80% of the populated areas by end of 2024. Now, of course, a person like me who's looking at this quite diligently, I'm quite nervous. Do you think that you guys can get 80% of coverage by end of 2024? It's just a little over 36 months. How are you guys supporting this?
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to appreciate that the entity that has been assigned, you know, the responsibility and accountability to roll it out for the country is Digital National Berhad, DNB, which is a 100% owned company by Ministry of Finance, right? It's an SPV. And in terms of rolling out that 5G, I think where TM will play a role, yeah, is twofold. Yeah? The first one is to support DNB in terms of rolling out the network. As we can appreciate, the basic components of a 5G network or any mobile network would be the towers, the equipment, as well as the connectivity to the towers. And the connectivity to the towers, you know, for 5G, it is designed to be fiberized, right? And that is where TM, leveraging the fiber network that we have today, yeah, but perhaps not many are aware, TM today, we have laid rolled out 640,000 kilometers of fiber across Malaysia. Just to give a sense of scale, that would circle the earth about 16 times, right? And so I think what it means is that on that part of the network, of the 5G network, when it comes to the fiber, I think the country can leverage on the infrastructure that TM has already rolled out so that it can be rolled out in a faster manner and I would believe in a cost-effective way as well, right? Without having to to roll out a fresh set of cables, if you like,
Yeah.
right? So, but that is only one component, and I think in all fairness, at TM we can only speak on the areas that we are able to support, right?
Yeah.
There are the other components, the towers and so forth, that would be very much dependent on the industry's ecosystem.
The issue also that you guys have to manage is not just the operational aspect of it, it's also the imagery of it, I suppose, or the perception of it, because people think of TM, people think that you guys own everything, you own the rails, basically, right? And that's something that I want to get to you as well, because
Yes.
how do you see the interplay between you versus other operators, you versus DNB that you mentioned, Digital National Berhad, you versus the regulator, MCMC, as well as KKMM, which are one and the same, but not necessarily so.
Yes.
Where does TM fit in all this kind of mix?
And I think you got it right there, right? You know, TM in our role, it does engage various stakeholders, right? From the infrastructure that we invest in, yeah, certainly it is being utilized to serve our retail customers, yeah, whether it's the home customers, the SME, or even the corporates, or the government for that matter. But there's another part of TM, yeah, that also looks at the wholesale business, which means that we lease this infrastructure that we have invested to other telcos. And that applies to Malaysian telcos, as well as even international telcos, for example.
Sorry, my employer is also involved in this.
Yes.
Let's talk about that, because I hope to get a bonus by the end of the year. So TM Wholesale has signed up a partnership with Astro in terms of rolling out, being an internet provider, internet service provider, ISP. Do you foresee you partnering with other non-telco players like Astro moving forward so as to improve on that business of TM Wholesale per se?
It is really about providing the options, about supporting the various offerings, I think, to the public, right? And if you were to ask me, I believe that the industry in Malaysia is moving away from a very infra-centric competition to a more service-based competition. Yeah, I think this has started way back since the fiber broadband, since TM rolled out the way back then, right? It launched in 2010, where others can also sign a wholesale agreement with TM for them to provide the end services to their respective customers.
Need not necessarily be telco operators.
And it can be, as long as they have the necessary license that's being given out by the regulators, by MCMC, which is network service provider, network facilities provider, they could. Yeah.
Alright. We'll go for one short break. When we come back, we'll discuss a little bit more dengan saudara Imri Mokhtar dari TM Berhad. Okey, terima kasih kerana terus bersama kami di agenda AWANI. Hari ini kita ada Imri Mokhtar, iaitu Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Kumpulan TM Berhad. Imri, kita nak fokus kepada single wholesale network or SWN provider in the country. I know you touched a little bit about DNB, but the question now is on the single network idea right now. And you know, rightfully so, there's a lot of questions or a lot of peculiarities coming in from this. How would you help us navigate through this issue to make us a little bit, you know, better understand the complexity of the issues a little bit better?
Yeah. Well, certainly having a single network, yeah, for mobile for the country, yeah, is a big shift for our industry, right? Before, all other operators, you know, could roll out their own network, right? But I believe there are also benefits in our country taking this very big and bold move. I think, for example, one, it avoids investment or duplication in investments, yeah, which then would translate to reducing capital outflows from our country to the international vendors and so forth. I think that's one consideration. And secondly, it could also potentially accelerate the rollout. Right, I think this being undertaken by 100% SPV by the government. When it comes to getting approvals to roll it out, I think that could be ironed out, because one of the challenges as a telco when we roll out today, regardless whether it's a mobile network or even it's a fiber network, is always to get the approval from the local authorities. So I would think potentially it could facilitate a better rollout with this being a government entity. And thirdly, as I think what I mentioned before the break just now, if we see that our country, our industry is moving away from being very infra-based competition, just because I have this infra, then I would have the advantage, to a much more service-based competition, where you don't need to build your own network, you could lease it. I think it's already happening in the fiber broadband. So this could be the shift for our country for mobile. And it starts with 5G potentially. And it would potentially then benefit the consumers, I believe, right? Where then the telcos would could focus more on creating more competitive and innovative services and solutions for the customers, right? Instead of today, we have to focus on building the infra and providing that innovative services or solutions. So that could be a shift that could benefit the country, and so we'll see.
the sector is an oligopoly, and we kind of understand why, because there's not much margin in this business. But do you foresee accusations being leveled against TM by being a monopoly, even more than an oligopoly as it is right now?
Yeah, I think one thing we need to appreciate, the position that TM is in, right? It's very much a byproduct of the decision of others, because our regulators had given out other licenses as well for other companies to roll out. But I think we will focus in what we do to continue rolling out, and if that translates to the position that we are in, I think it's something that's beyond out of our control because of the decision of others of not rolling it out.
Speaking of which, so you see the common theme of this conversation has been that this industry is heavily regulated. There's a lot of eyes on this industry. It's an industry where whatever you do is going to be attracting a lot of comments from a lot of sectors. One idea that has been floating around is on the 5G spectrum network allocation. Now, I understand that TM has no say in that, but see, these are the things that keeps on propping up, right? And the clarity has to be clear from the government as well. And we're hoping that with the budget and everything else, it's going to be a lot more clearer. But taking a step back and looking at TM as an organization in this country, it's very rare for a company to say that the company has a crucial value factor in the country. It's even more so when the company is in a critical sector and your company is the most critical of that critical sector. That's how I would, I mean, all the other operators that have come on this show probably argue otherwise, but yes, you are probably, in my view, right? So how do you foresee TM playing a role in nation building moving forward, considering that the challenges are getting grimmer by the day, not because of through any fault of yours, but the sector is in trouble, in terms of profitability. I mean, how do you move forward from there?
Now, I guess this is where I think for TM, we are very clear on the dual role that we play, right? Firstly, as a public listed company, right? As well as a government linked company, right? As a PLC, about commercial sustainability is of our utmost priority, providing returns to our shareholders. I think that's something that's is our commitment to our shareholders. But also we play the other role of, as that GLC, of investing for the benefit of the country. Whether it's the digital connectivity, of course, as I mentioned just now, focusing on the fiber, because the fiber is not just for fiber broadband, it's also required that 640,000 kilometers of fiber is also required to connect our corporates. the various industry, whether it's the banking sector, whether it's the retail sector, and so forth as well as as I mentioned as well just now, our government offices as well. Yeah. So it's really if you like, the heartbeat of the connectivity, right, when it comes to fiber, right?
A corporate as big as yours probably have a lot of business continuity plans in place.
Yes.
But I don't know whether you guys have perhaps foreseen 19 months out of action, the whole country crippled because of no, forget the whole country, the whole world. How do you move forward as the chief of the organization, and
Yes.
and we're talking about the big company with all the other smaller stuff inside it?
Yes.
What's the contingency plan moving forward in order for you to be better prepared for the future? Not that you're not prepared today. I mean, I'm still getting internet during my MCO, but
Yes.
but yeah.
You know, but yeah, no, interesting point that you raised, because I think this past 1.5 years has taught each and every one of us of the importance for us to be adaptable, right, to do things differently. And the most fundamental prerequisite for that is a good digital connectivity, right? And it would also demand corporations or individuals, and also TM, in the fact of doing things differently, right? Of adapting to those challenges. I mean, like we still needed to do what we needed to do to serve the country in terms of the connectivity. The way of working needed to change. We needed to be more contactless, to really simplify our processes, to automate some of those processes and so forth. And I think it accelerates. You know, we've spoken about before the digital evolution or revolution of IR 4.0. I think this past 1.5 years had just accelerated that by a good 5 years, right, of bringing it forward. And I think this is where the country today, you know, as we come out into this recovery and then the next growth phase, right, we do need to embrace a much more digital way of a lifestyle as well as a work style. Right?
What's the plan for being net zero carbon, a little bit more climate friendly? Is that part of the works inside TM as well?
No, absolutely, right. I think as we invest, as we grow together with the country, I think to do it in a responsible manner is one of our commitments. Yeah? We are very committed towards reducing our carbon footprint by 2030 by about 50%, and towards a net zero carbon by 2050. And there are various means of doing that. I think just to share with you today, we do still have 2 networks that's running today to serve Malaysians. Majority of it is the fiber network, but there's still some parts of it that's still the old copper network. Yeah? So we are looking at over the next few years.
Even I have forgotten about that.
But yes, but it's still there. It's still there, right?
Okay.
And it's about really minimizing the consumption of the network, which is the highest energy guzzler, if you can imagine, right? Yeah. So it's about then shutting down that network. I think that's one. And secondly, in terms of the sources of energy, right? Today we are in discussions with various parties to source greener energy as well. Yeah? And this is some of the plans that we have. As I said, you know, the country will require a lot of investments. I think broadly, just as we said, whether it's JENDELA, whether it's 5G, and an area we have not touched is also on investments in data centers and cloud and so forth. And those are also large.
We're going to get you in to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because honestly, 2 minutes is not enough to talk about that. my final question to you is this. I know that you guys, like we mentioned, we agreed earlier that you know, so many hands are in this pot cooking this particular meal. But because of the position that you have in the market, do you feel that you are able to, I wouldn't say institute policies, but at least influence policies to a point where it can be beneficial for the people? Not just the telco policy, but training, learning, education, bringing high-tech jobs into your own people.
Yes.
And then, of course, you know, net carbon zero initiatives. there's so many things that you guys can shape. Do you feel that that is a position that you guys want to take, that thought leadership role in the near future?
Definitely, right? And I think TM for the past decades, we have been investing in the various technologies to drive the growth of our country through various phases. And we're committed and look forward to continue to play that leading role over the next many years to come. And it does require a lot of balancing, as you said, to the various stakeholders. It's not just to our customers, but also to the industry as well, yeah, and also to our shareholders. So it's really a lot of balancing that's required, and I have to say, Ibrahim, it does contribute to a few strands, or more than a few strands of grey hair to me.
Of course. Are you guys shopping for other companies? Some of your operators are trying to team up and merge or amalgamate.
Yeah, and I think moving forward, collaboration or cooperation is the way. Yeah,
not acquire or
it's
merger.
And I think that we are in considerations. We are always looking at the various options. Yeah, but whether it's into whatever depth of commercial arrangements, right? Whether it's just a pure collaboration or a JV or an acquisition, I think it's not just TM, yeah,
right,
but also the whole digital innovation ecosystem requires much greater collaboration for us to really drive and deliver the aspiration of a more digital Malaysia.
It is. Nampak saya memang susah sikit punya job. I mean, I'm not going to underestimate the kind of complexities that you guys are going through. Tapi disebabkan kesetukaan masa, setakat ini saja perbualan kami dengan Imri Mokhtar, pengarah urusan dan juga ketua pegawai eksekutif kumpulan TM Berhad. Jika anda terlepas mana-mana bahagian dalam temu ramah ini, sila layari astroawani.com dan cari agenda Awani.